King Radoslav I, 858 to 863. King Svetorad was succeeded by his son Radoslav I, who remained in history as a gentle and kind man. In a powerful and well-organized Serbia, he believed that no stronger royal power was needed, but that he could rely on the conscientiousness of senior state officials. However, some Bans abused the king's kindness, such as the Ban of Lika and Krvava, Selimir, who in 862 refused to obey the king. He wanted to create his own special state of Lika, Krvava and Kotar. King Radoslav I sent his son Chaslav to bring order to the rebel Banat and ordered him to do so in the mildest way possible, as well as to be kind to the people, because the rebellion was the work of Ban Selimir. Chaslav defeated the Ban, captured him and executed him, thus establishing peace in Banat. King Radoslav then came to Kotare and the people welcomed him with great enthusiasm. The king began to rebuke and punish the military elders because they brought order and peace with a firm hand, which caused great dissatisfaction and rebellion in the army. Led by leader Milutin, the rebels wanted to overthrow the kings. Seeing that the rebels were superior, the king fled to a ship and sailed to Italy. He settled with his family in Rome, where he died without trying to return to the throne. During the reign of King Radoslav I in 858, the Moravian prince Ratislav asked the Byzantine Emperor Mikhail III to send him preachers who would preach Christianity to the people in Serbian language. Moravia was mostly baptized by German priests who spoke German or Latin and with whom the people did not like. Emperor Mihailo sent brothers Constantine and Methodius, who were Serbs originally from Thessalonica and in a service of Byzantine court. On the way to Moravia, they baptized the Bulgarian Khan Bogor who the Serbs called Boris and a part of his nobles. The Thessalonian brothers preached in Moravia in the Serbian language, and because of that they were attacked by the Roman Church. They responded to the attacks. In which language do they pray to God and preach? Instead of Serbian, the old well-known Srbica, the old well-known Serbian alphabet that was then used by all Serbs from the Adriatic to the Sarmatians, Constantine created new written signs, the so-called Glagolitic alphabet, which was unsuitable for use. The purpose of its creation is the split of Serbian cultural unity. This was the goal of the policy of the Constantinople court and atavistic Greek hate and envy towards Serbs. Saint Jerome used Serbica to translate Christian books into Serbian at that time. They did not call it alphabet but a letter. The Gothic bishop Ulfila also used a type of Srbica for church and religious needs. Later, the Greek clergy, with help of Serbian clergy, declared the Serbian Cyrillic Srbica Cyrillic in honor of Constantine, the creator of the Glagolitic alphabet, whose monastic name was Kirilo. Relying on this hoax, anti-Serbian slanders were spread from various sides, which still seem to be the case today, that Serbs did not have literacy and that they were not even Christians until Byzantine agents came and brought them literacy and faith. In the light of historical and linguistic science, it is factually provable that the Greeks received literacy from Serbs and not the other way around. King Chaslav, 863 to 865. About a year after King Radoslav fled to Italy, his son Chaslav was crowned as King of Serbia. In the time of King Chaslav, a certain Vladislav ruled in Pannonia as the ruler of the Pannonian Serbs. Vladislav intended to expand his state to the detriment of the state of King Chaslav and invaded Srem with army in 864. He came near Sirmium, where Chaslav intercepted him. A certain Tihomil, a son of the great nobleman Budislav, the lord of town of Rabik, was with King Chaslav. Tihomil used to be in the court of King Vladislav. Chaslav sent Tihomil to Vladislav's camp to deceive him, which Tihomil did. Vladislav's army was defeated and expelled. For the award, Chaslav appointed Tihomil as the prefect of Drina parish, which was quite large. Surviving Vladislav's military leaders were preparing revenge on Chaslav, and in 865 they entered Srem on a roof with a small army detachments. Chaslav was then in Srem, and there he was suddenly attacked in his camp, killed and thrown into Sava river. It happened that Chaslav was killed almost at the same place where Vladislav was killed. Serbia without a king, 865 to 926. After the death of King Chaslav, there were no more nobles from the dynasty in Serbia or Strivojević that could succeed them. King Radoslav and his son Petrislav went in Rome. None of the Bans was powerful enough to impose themselves on other nobles, so Serbia was left without a king. Each of the Bans tried to establish himself as the ruler of his Banovina, and they are similar, so did the lower nobles. During the rule of the Svevladović dynasty, Serbia was a very centralized state, and its own and the internal organization resembled that of the Roman Empire. During the dynasties of Svetimirovići and Ostrivojevići, Serbia resembled Fruška more in its internal organization than the Roman Empire, with which it had much stronger historical and cultural ties. From 711, Serbia was decentralized, and the Bans of some great Banats behaved like real rulers, recognizing only the supreme royal authority. When capable and determined rulers sat on the throne of Serbia, everything went as it should. And when that was not the case, the Bans appeared as independent rulers. They even fought wars of their own. The supreme government and the supreme court, as is customary among the Serbs at all times, were exercised by the military assembly. To him belonged all men capable of military service. The military assembly was convened only on exceptional occasions. It could change the ruler and appoint a new one. When there was no central government in a country, it was not possible to convene the state military assembly, which is sometimes called the Great Assembly. At the time when Serbia did not have a king, it seems that military assembly was not convened. At that time Serbia had territorial losses, but still it did not disintegrate into several independent states, which is a rare example in history, but maintained some kind of community of state and territory. Only a year after the death of King Chaslav in 866, an Arab fleet besieged Dubrovnik and attacked Budva, Risan and Kotor. The Arab siege of Dubrovnik lasted for 15 months, so we spent Serbian cities turned for amount of the 1-year tax. This is good proof that Dalmatian cities were then part of Serbia, and that from the time of their takeover until then, Byzantium did not have any possessions in Dalmatia, nor were there any cities under its protection. Only when the endangered Serbian cities paid the requested amount, Emperor Vasily sent the fleet of 100 ships under the command of Patrician Niketa Orphos with an order to expel the Arabs and occupy the entire Dalmatian coast. The Byzantine ally Venice was already attacking the Serbian lands and the coastal cities in Dalmatia at the same time as the Arabs. Since the Venetian attack began before the Arabian one, the Serbian naval forces were busy fighting Venetians. The arrival of strong Byzantine navy caused the Arabs to withdraw without a fight, and the Byzantines and Venetians together occupied the entire Serbian coast in 867. King Chaslav appointed a certain Domagoj as the prefect of Croats in Serbia, based in Nin. Domagoj was not related to the previous prefect Trpimir, which means that this county position was not yet inherited in Serbia. Immediately after the prefect Domagoj, the bishop of all Croats was appointed, also based in Nin. According to Milas, this was the first People's Croatian episcopate.